There are several methods of getting stuff into the PDF object. You could just add it without coordinates, and then it will be placed, it will flow into the page, and that's one way to, for example, add 10 pages of just text. You could use that. I never do. There are table tags you could use to place a grid system and place out table objects. I never do that. I use the add technique with coordinates, because using it, I can place them wherever I want to. And using that, I can build a grid if I want to. I can, for example, produce labels to put on envelopes, physical envelopes, using the add method. Instead of trying to create a table and put up stuff into that, it's very frustrating, and I don't recommend it. I can use add and have it placed in rows and columns wherever I want it. So, add actually also allows you to mix different styling. You can have 5 words in plain text, then a word in bold, then more plain text, then a word in green, and more text. By creating text objects with different styling and then adding them to a sort of container, and then adding that container to the PDF. So
this is called chunk.
No, when you create a text object, it can be of the type paragraph and it can be of the type chunk. I tend to always use paragraph, but what I first do is I create an empty object, text object, and then I add to that text object other text objects, and each of them have their different styling. And then once I've done building that, I add the entire
so there is no line breaks when you add this object one after the other.
Well, you can add line, because you can take a text chunk and have a line break within that text chunk.
But by default there is no, so it flows.
It will flow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can
have
have
chunk,
if as this, and then some things in bold and green, and then broken in the same text and style as this one, on the same line. No problem to do. Generally, if it doesn't work, tell Bill to fix it. And that's what I have in form of slides. I can start showing you some code snippets if that's interesting. I don't know how we are time-wise, but
I'd be curious to see, starting from an InDesign document, the PDF generated from that, and then starting the layer on top of that. I'll try to remember how to load that as a template.
yeah. This is a live example. Let's see if I can get to it. Oh, it's over here. You can see it, but I can't. No. This looks kind of empty. Okay. I'm getting to it. I didn't have that prepared. Beginning to look like Chris now. Here's a demo. Can you read it? I can't see it myself. I think I have to change the setup here so I can see myself. Two fonts needed. Here I point to the template, which contains all the graphic stuff, logos and things like that. Some basic variables needed to get stuff placed at the correct position. And here I create the PDF object. And here I insert the page from that I called. Okay. I created the variable so I know where to point. And here I am reading that as a PDF, inserting it into the template, and the one here tells me that I'm going to use the first page of the template. This is a multi-page template that I'm calling. But by putting the one here, I'm saying use the first page. And here I'm adding some of the basic stuff into that first page. I mean the client address and the sender address and reference and stuff like that. And date, invoice number, all that static stuff. Oh, sorry, it's not static, but it's you add it once. And here I start to iterate the invoice information that I have. So for each article item, this will be repeated. So here, it didn't fit. This is what I'm checking here. If the available space is less than the space needed for this particular item, create a new page. And so it just adds the text, additional item specifications on the following page. That will be printed at the very bottom of the page. And I reset the position variables, and here I insert the same PDF template, but this time I'm using the second page instead of the template. And by adding this param, new page equals true, it will automatically create a new page within the PDF. And this is repeated forever until the invoice is done.
And insert page, I assume needs to be done before you add any text or anything to it?
As I said, since a PDF template is always put at the very bottom, I really don't have to do that.
Oh, okay.
In this case, I am doing it as the first thing I do because I wanted to create a new page for me. But I can do this anytime while on the same page. There is no technique to go back to a previous page, which makes numbering of a dynamic document tough. You can't say this is page 3 out of 10, because when you start building, you don't know if you have 10 pages. So I know techniques where people actually create the page, the PDF twice. First they do it, and then they know how many pages it will be, and then they just toss that away, create it again in order just to get in. This is page 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, and so forth.